Dead by Daylight hosts a veritable cast of killers from all shapes and sizes. But what about a killer that doesn't really have a certain shape, certain size? It's kind of unknown.
Oh my god. Scare the great unknown.
No, not that unknown. However, that meme was floating around the time this killer came out, the Unknown. Today we're going to be taking this killer from Dead by Daylight and turning it into a creature that can be used in D&D 5th edition. If you would like to know more about Dead by Daylight, you can watch the first video we did on the Dredge. Other than that, let's look at what the Unknown is, its lore, its powers, its perks, so we know what we're working with. The Unknown is not a singular being. It is rather formless, ever-shifting, a nightmare. It is a living manifestation of fear itself, an entity that has existed beyond recorded history. Some speculate that it was once human, but whatever it has been is long gone at this point, consumed by darkness, that which fuels it. Unlike the other killers in Dead by Daylight that were lured or taken by the entity, the Unknown has seemingly been always a part of it. Always there. Whether the Unknown was some sort of experiment, a mistake, or even something that predates the entity itself, no one is quite sure. Those unfortunate enough to meet the Unknown report conflicting memories, as if reality itself bends to its will, and the survivors that the Unknown does claim seem to be erased from history itself. No evidence, no existence, absolutely nothing. The Unknown seems to go ahead and take these forms from the people it's stolen and even steal their voice, mimicking them at times. As for the Unknown's power, it has two. The first is its UVX, also known as Unknown Venom X. This is a projectile that the killer is able to throw. It's a pink, lovable ball. When it goes ahead and hits walls, it can bounce off of them. The projectile itself doesn't injure survivors on impact. It rather only injures anyone when it comes and explodes on the ground. In order to even injure the survivor, you must first hit them with the UVX once to apply a hallucination debuff. Once with the hallucination debuff, any other hit from the UVX while that debuff is on them is going to inflict them with an injury. The hallucination debuff can be dispelled by staring at the Unknown itself for a certain duration of time. The other power that the Unknown has is its ability to go ahead and spawn clones of itself over time. The placement time of the clones isn't really handled by the player, it is automatic. When this UI on the border of the screen fills to full, it goes ahead and fully drains back to zero, showing you that it has spawned a clone of yourself. Clone timing is accelerated based on how many people have that hallucination debuff. The clones don't move, they simply are put there to teleport to. The Unknown can look at them from across the map and warp to a select clone. Survivors can dispel these clones by using an action against it for a short amount of time. However, be warned, if the Unknown warps to that clone while you're trying to dispel it, he's immediately going to pick you up and put you in a state where you're able to be hooked. Let's go over the perks on the Unknown. First up is Unbound. When a survivor is injured by any means, you get a 5% haste buff after you vault a window. Next is Undone. When a survivor fails a skill check, the Unknown gains 3 tokens up to a maximum of 30. The next time they damage a generator, that generator loses an additional 1% per token you have and spends all tokens. This also causes the generator to be blocked for the amount of times you had tokens as well. The last is Unforeseen. When the Unknown damages a generator, it applies its terror radius, the thing that survivors hear that warns that the killer is coming, to the generator itself. So the Unknown loses that terror radius and it puts it on the generator. This effectively stealths the killer and confuses a lot of survivors sometimes. And that's it for the Unknown's power. Let's go ahead and convert it into a D&D creature. If you like these videos, feel free to subscribe. We have a bunch of free D&D resources in the Google Doc below, adding this one to our collection. We just hit 200 subscribers. I'd like to thank everyone who's been subscribed with us. Help us reach our 1K goal. Got our little map set up for the episode. We have our knight character, and we have the Unknown token here. Let's go over the stat block first. The Unknown is a medium aberration, chaotic evil, armor class of 17 via natural armor, hit point average of 178 or 17d8 plus 102, speed of 40 feet. Strength 16, dex 18, constitution 22, int 14, wisdom 16, charisma 7. Saving throws in dex plus 8, wisdom plus 7, charisma plus 2. Skill proficiencies in deception plus 2, perception plus 7, and stealth plus 8. Damage resistances to psychic. Damage immunities to cold and necrotic. Condition immunities to charmed, frightened, and poisoned. It has a dark vision range of 120 feet and a passive perception of 17 for its senses. It can speak and understand common and deep speech with a telepathy range of 120 feet and is a challenge level of 10. Starting with the abilities, we have Manifest Fear. Whenever a creature starts its turn within 30 feet of the unknown, or any clone of it, it must make a difficulty class 17 wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, it sees hallucinations of its worst fears, causing it to be frightened of the unknown until the start of its next turn. If the creature succeeds, it is immune to this effect for the next 24 hours. We'll go over how the unknown goes ahead and spawns its clone later in the video. Reality Distortion. Whenever a creature targets the unknown with an attack or spell, it must first make a difficulty check 15 intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, it chooses a different target within range, including itself, if applicable. Hallucinations. On every 5th initiative during combat with this creature, it places one copy of itself on a free adjacent tile to itself. These copies do not move. These copies can be dispelled by having that creature be adjacent range of that copy and use an action to make a difficulty class 13 constitution save, and upon passing it, successfully gets rid of the copy. If the creature is under the hallucinate affliction, the difficulty check is instead 21. For every creature under the effect of hallucinate, it decreases the amount of initiatives needed to pass to reactivate this ability by 1. A maximum of 3 clones can be out at once. All clones last 3 rounds from when they are placed, then disappear. Let's review. So, on every 5th initiative, it's going to place 1 clone. So let's say, for example, the knight goes first and the unknown goes second. An initiative is basically going to be, when their turn starts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the start of initiative 5, on this knight's turn, it's going to spawn a clone of itself, and it can place it on an adjacent tile, like so. To get rid of this clone, this character is going to need to come over within adjacent range of it and use an action to dispel it. It's originally going to be a DC 13 con save. Fail it and it won't go away. Pass it, however, and it will. However, if you're under the effect of hallucinate, it will be a very hard roll of a DC 21 con save instead. We'll go over how you obtain hallucinate in a second. Additionally, if there are characters under the hallucinate effect, it decreases the initiative count needed to get to the next clone spawn by 1. So if there are 3 characters under the effect of hallucinate, it would only take 2 initiatives, every 2 initiatives, for it to spawn a clone. It does have a clone limit of 3, however, and each clone lasts approximately 3 rounds from when it came out. Unforeseen. When the unknown attacks and deals damage to a creature, for the rest of this round, all noises the unknown makes comes from the victim who was attacked by him, while the unknown becomes completely silent. This effect can only be applied to 1 creature at a time. So let's say the unknown goes up to the knight and damages him. If it's the first damage for that turn, that knight is now going to produce every sound that the unknown would make, which would cause confusion amongst characters. So let's say it disappears and it starts stepping around the area. Well, the stepping sounds are going to originate from the knight and not the unknown itself. So if you're in a dark room, it's going to confuse a lot of your players where that sound is coming from. If you have something like Foundry Virtual Tabletop, not sponsored, you could use the sound source and plug the sound source from your character onto the person you put the sound source on to further confuse your players. Next, we have Undone. When any creature fails a saving throw or any dice roll, the unknown gets a stack of Undone. The next time the unknown deals damage, it spends all stacks of Undone. For each stack spent, it deals an additional d10 psychic damage to the creature it attacked. Lastly is Unbound. The first time the unknown deals any damage on its turn, it may use the dash action for free. The unknown has 2 actions, the first being the UVX. UVX is a ranged weapon attack with a +8 to hit. It has a 5 to 10 foot range normal and a 15 to 40 foot range penalty. Anything above 40 is automatic miss. All targets within a 10 foot radius blast to go ahead and deal damage, and it hits for 2d10 plus 4 psychic damage. Launch a projectile that only blows up upon hitting the ground once or a wall for the second time. While the projectile is in flight, it moves through creatures and does not harm them. If the projectile hits a wall, it will bounce off the wall up to 1 time in a direction of your choice and bounce 5 feet. If the projectile bounces, the next terrain it comes into contact with will blow the projectile up. When the projectile blows up, it deals damage and afflicts targets hit by it with Hallucinate. If a creature has Hallucinate and is hit by the attack, it automatically critically hits them. So let's go ahead and use an example here. We're going to shoot from here. This would be disadvantage range since we're at 15 feet for our shot, actually 20 feet for our shot. We want to use this projectile skillfully, however. So we're going to actually move the unknown here, because remember, if we shoot the projectile straight at the character, very much like in the game, it's not going to do anything. It's going to go straight through them. They're going to make a little noise and then nothing happens. We want to deal damage. So what we're going to do is we're going to aim for the column behind the knight instead. We'll shoot from here as such, like that, on the column, and have it bounce off the column right back onto the knight. And that is the impact that is going to explode and actually deal the damage we want. Now, the normal damage that this move does is a 2d10 plus 4. We're going to assume it hits. And we get a 20. Not bad for damage. And of course, if they are already afflicted with Hallucinate, that is going to crit for 40. Very important note, since this isn't really on the sheet. DMs, you can feel free to balance this how you like, but like in the game, in order to get rid of the Hallucinate affliction that your character has, they need to look at the unknown for 1 full round. Feel free to adjust that how you like. Void Strike is our other action. It's a melee weapon attack with a +7 to hit and a reach of 10 feet. 1 target. Deals 46 plus 3 necrotic damage. The target must make a difficulty class 17 wisdom saving throw or be disoriented until the end of its next turn, rolling a d6 at the start of its turn. On a roll of 1 to 3, it takes no action or reaction that turn. Effect is pretty straightforward. We're just going to test the damage out real quick as we like to do. We're going to bring them in range here. That's close enough. We'll do an RD 4d6 plus 3. 27, wow, good hit. Let's go over bonus actions, starting with Unnerving Warp. As a bonus action, this creature can swap itself with one of its clones. If you warp to a clone that has a creature adjacent to it, deal 5d8 psychic damage to them and knock them prone. If that creature is under the effect of Hallucinate, deal damage again for a second time of the same amount. So let's bring a clone out and show that as an example. Alright, so let's say that we warp to this clone here. They're going to go ahead and just trade spots. So that one goes there, that's the real one. This is the clone. There is, of course, a creature next to him, which is the knight. That knight is now going to take the 5d8 psychic damage. That's a hard-hitting 24. Now, if he was under the effect of Hallucinate, he's going to take another 5d8 psychic damage. 26. You really don't want to be next to these things when the unknown decides to warp to them. It really hurts. Unnerving Alter Form is the other bonus action. When the unknown kills another creature, it adds it to its list of personalities and forms this creature can transform into anytime while in combat, once per turn, during its turn, as a bonus action. The unknown takes the exact size, tone of voice, and all other physical features that it has selected from its known collection. However, the exact look of the form is slightly monstrous and deformed from its original. This creature does not copy any ability scores, passives, or actions of any form it collected. This is inspired from the Unknown's lore, as it doesn't really have a specific shape or being it takes on, 100% of the time. It morphs how it pleases. The one you see in the token here is the default skin for it in game, but it can take many different forms. Fun fact, this is actually a modified version of a action we gave our Metalex, the second episode and the second ever video we put on the channel from our randomized series. We have one reaction, which is our final one we're going over, which is Unnerving Swap. When a creature fails to dispel any of your clones, you may react immediately with your Unnerving Warp if you have any bonus action available. So our knight friend is going to attempt to dispel this clone next to him, but he's hallucinating and the DC is just too high and he fails miserably. Now the unknown can use Unnerving Warp absolutely out of turn, and as long as it has a bonus action, swap back. And guess what? Since it's swapped with a creature within adjacent range, it's going to go ahead and proc off its Unnerving Warp, which is another 5d8 damage to this guy. 2 sets actually, since he's hallucinating. And folks, that does it for the unknown. I hope you enjoyed the conversion that we did here and you're satisfied with the results. Again, use this as a template and adjust how you like. The unknown was the most popular suggestion we have gotten from Dead by Daylight so far, so if you would like to leave yours, please leave them in the comment below. We may get to them eventually. Next, we'll be tackling the Hag once we get to DBD again. Video on the left is YouTube's recommended. Video on the right is the video we did last week on a Myth to D&D on the Knock, a Nixie that lures people into the water. Click that video to go ahead and view it. Otherwise, see you in the next one.